You received a call from an inmate at the Department of Corrections. This call will be recorded and monitored. If you wish to block any future calls of this nature, dial 7 now. To accept this call, press 5 now. To decline this call, hang up.
Well, hello there, Miss King. How's it going? Another one of those drama incidents. Ooh, a scam. Okay, so a trans person got a female pregnant and they sued the state and got $1 million, and they're splitting it amongst themselves. Wow, that's quite a scam. Well, yeah, that's a real issue. There are people that's being raped and assaulted and abused by staff and other uh, incarcerated people. I mean, I even heard one in the alternative prisons and the children's prisons and stuff out there. It's just human nature to do certain things, but to actually use that to gain money and abuse the system, it's going to make it hard to get support for the people that's locked up. Well, no, she did. I mean, even though she did get some pretty bad medical treatment, it doesn't excuse the fact that she was abused and mistreated in the prison system, and committing another crime. Well, uh, yeah, that's something I'm definitely going to have to look into. It's scary to think that people would do something like that. But then again, you can't really be surprised. There's a lot of the folks that's locked up. They are clever. We tend to underestimate them, but there's people in prison that are geniuses. They're really clever people. I mean, look at Ted Bundy. He was able to forge uh, signatures and documents and made it look like a legitimate release and got out. And I don't want to think that prison officials are going to sit there and think something like this won't happen. And they're setting themselves up for it too. We need a big overhaul on this prison system, and we need to keep vigilance on them. There's a lot of folks in there that shouldn't be there, and even more that's gotten long sentences because people just aren't thinking about the long term effects. Well, yeah, I know you have a bad situation. You're in a wheelchair and you're getting very bad medical attention. But when a judge sentences a person to 20 years in prison, there's expectations. And the jury needs to know that. The public needs to know that we expect them to get room and board. We expect them to get proper medical attention. And if it's going to cost a lot of money, if it's so important to lock these people up for 20 years, they're going to have to pay the $100,000 a year for each person. It just goes with the territory. And for me, I think it's better to spend money on rehabilitation and alternative programs and training. And some of them could use proper medical attention.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
Okay. Yeah, I will definitely look into that. And I'm glad you're supporting us for getting some reform going on out there. We need it. And okay, yeah, we'll join forces on this one. And I think the big thing is just to get it out there. People need to know that's number one. And then the second thing is
You have 30 seconds remaining.
to help the incarcerated people, reduce these sentences. Well, good, yeah. Just and I think the main thing is when the people do come, just share your story. Yeah, the more they know, the better. Well, thanks for the call, and I'm going to definitely look into this. This is a scary moment, but we'll get it. Well, good,
Thank
good.
you for using Inmate Call. Goodbye.
Hello, welcome to AQS Inmate Call, and I'm your host, Joel Wilborn. And in this episode, uh, I'll discuss my views on some of these things that's going on in prison that's just not broadcast to the rest of the world. And one big thing is there's people who claim to be trans females going into the female prison and raping folks, assaulting them, and in some cases getting them pregnant. And there was an incident in one of the local prisons where a person conspired with one of these trans folks and said, I will report a rape, and then we'll sue the state and split the winnings. And here you've got a person who pretty much has consensual sex and then claims that she was raped, sues, wins, and gets like $1 million settlement, or the punishment is that the state has to pay $1 million or $2 million, whatever, and then of course each person gets $500,000, and that's a pretty good little thing. Now, of course, this woman has a child. I don't know if she wanted the child or what the fate of the child is going to be. That is a possibility in 20, 30 years. The kid could end up in prison as well because it's just bad parenting. You have a trans dad and a straight mom, maybe even lesbian, and then a child that was just brought into the world to win. And, that's not a good situation. And to me, it's very cut and dry. I've spoken to a lot of trans people, and they don't feel the same way we do out in the public. I've had trans people tell me that there are those who are fake. They go in there claiming to be a female, and they have absolutely no intention of pursuing the male gender. They want females. And so, you look at stories about gangsters that change their identity or do a plastic surgery to change their look and their location, so they can keep committing their crimes. Some of them, to stay out of prison, they'll fake insanity. And these are clever people. They're trying to figure out ways to beat the system, and they're willing to play the game and put on an act to get what they want. And when you look at that kind of history, then you know that these folks are always thinking about ways to beat the system. And there's nothing wrong with assuming, could be right, it could be wrong, but assuming that everybody who goes into the prison is smart enough to figure out a way to get out. And there's guards that go in there when a woman comes up and says, these people are attacking me and this guard is treating me very bad, they're going to be skeptical. I spoke to a person who was put in the room with or he was put in a cell with the person who raped his sister. And this person taunted him, and then he beat him to death. And he told me that he was set up. He said they put him in the cell knowing perfectly well that something was going to happen. And when he said, I don't want to be in the cell with this person, they ignored him. And that kind of stuff could be prevented. There is no reason, especially when you have jails and prisons, multiple of them in the state, in the county, sometimes, that you can move the person as far away as possible. And if a person is capable of getting somebody pregnant, why put that person in a female's prison? It just, come on now, it's common sense. There is that possibility. Now, yes, the trans women I've spoken to, one of them said, I'm attracted to men. I like men. I don't want anything to do with women. And he said he's taking, or I'm going to say she's taking measures to prevent even an accidental issue. She just can't get somebody pregnant. And that's what she was saying. I can't get a person pregnant. I even if I wanted to. And I have no reason to doubt her. If she's saying that she's not attracted to women, she doesn't want anything to do with them, that's fine. I mean, I've spoken to lesbians who say they want nothing to do with men. And I mean, it's just the way they talk, their attitude. It's just like, yeah, you can look at them and say, no, I'm more interested in women. There's groups on Facebook and other social medias where there's women looking for women, like lesbian sites. And a man would go in there and say something, and it says, nope, don't talk to me. I'm only interested in women. And that you have to respect. If these people are attracted to a certain gender, then we can leave that be. And there's people that come in, and if they're saying, I'm a female, and they put them in a male prison, and then that person sues the state, and then of course the trans community comes out. I think if the trans community gets involved and the experts in that field get involved, we could figure out who's lying and who's telling the truth. And with prisoners, they don't have the same rights that we do. They're pretty much property of the state. And we can't pretend that a person who says, I'm a female, but I can get a female pregnant, we can't think that this person's going to be self-disciplined and not mess with them. Put them in a separate unit. Keep them segregated from the rest of the female population. And if there's a female that complains and this person was standing nude, clearly wanting to have sex with me, you don't take that lightly. And the person could threaten lawsuits and stuff, but you said there is a complaint and we need to follow up on that. If one of the conditions of you being in a female prison is that you're not going to get anybody pregnant, you're not going to have sex with anybody. And if there's that threat, yeah, maybe it is a lie. But for everybody's safety, separate them. And there should be funding and there should be staffing to take care of that. I know there's staff at the female prison that are attracted to the females. So a woman could go to the infirmary, sit down with the female nurse, and that female nurse could be attracted to her. And that's fine. I mean, that happens out here in the real world. But if the woman goes into the nurse's office and the nurse is a trans female and attacks her and gets her pregnant, that's a whole different story. And how can you say we can't prevent that? How can you say that we're violating rights? These people are in prison. And they have certain rights. They have the right to security, to proper medical attention, and they have a right to practice their religion. There's things they have a right to do, but if we say we're going to separate you, and they get all upset about it, let's put the full story out there. Let the whole public know what's going on, why we're doing this. And before a judge sentences a person to a certain prison, let's have experts examine, talk to the people. But I think, because I know I talked to some trans males, and if this person was put into a male prison, there would be a lot of issues. And he's saying, I'd rather be at the female prison. But then again, he could be attacked by a trans female. Or even staff members. And we don't send people to prison to get pregnant. We don't send people to prison to be assaulted. We don't want them coming out worse than when they went in. And when trans people are telling me that there's people in there that are using this excuse to get in there, that's not right. I mean, I look up jokes to put on my YouTube page, and there was one, where the person is just raving about why send a lesbian to a female prison. They're surrounded by the people that they like. It's like sending a straight male to a prison filled with straight females. That's what they want. And to pretend to be a female to get that type of luxury, no, we should not allow that. And that's why prison reform is so important. We need to find alternative ways to do this. And talking with the people, examining the people medically, looking at the history, there's a lot we could figure out. And we need to put them properly. A serial killer is going to be dangerous no matter what. And so locking them in maximum security, keeping them pretty much isolated, you're not going to have a lot of incidences. But when you have minimum security and you mix the population, especially biological males with biological females, you just might have a problem. And talking with the LGBTQ plus community will definitely help. Let's sit down with them. What do you suggest we do? How can we handle this? And have members of that community who are volunteers who want to do this be on these committees to help figure out ways to incarcerate people and cut back on the chances of abuse. And that's where communication is very key. But you're not going to see that on the news a lot. I mean, some of the big news stations did do these stories on the males who get in there and impregnate the women and just abuse the system. I want to get that out there. I'm going to have as many people as I can talk about it, especially in the medical anyway. If a woman does get pregnant in prison, what's the procedure there? Shouldn't that person get an early release and go home monitoring, have a probation or parole officer that's educated in these situations, a prison pregnancy and early release? Is this fake? Is this real? Does the woman love the child? Is the child going to have a good, safe environment? There's a lot that needs to be involved in this, and let's put our funding into that. and let's prevent something from happening instead of just reacting to everything. We need to be proactive. And the only way to do that is to communicate and come together and get the word out. The public needs to know that there's folks being abused in the prison and coming out worse than when they went in. And a correctional center is supposed to correct bad behavior. And that comes from within. When the person feels motivated enough to change and not commit any more crimes, we succeed. And I know it's possible because I work one-on-one with a lot of folks who don't go back to prison. They've been out for years. And that's what I want to see. I don't want a revolving door. But that's what we got until we do something about it. We're not going to prevent gun violence, school shootings, mass murders with the current system. We're going to have to make a change. And creating new laws, that's why these people are in prison in the first place. They violate the law. I really don't see the logic in that, but there it is. Create new laws that can be broken. Jeez, there you go. Well, thanks for tuning in. Please get out there and communicate. Discuss what you expect from the correctional centers. And if there needs to be changes, go out and talk to people. You don't have to follow through on the whole thing, but if you get the ball rolling and just find the right people, maybe they can pick up the banner and go and turn to you if they have any questions or if they need a little extra support. And then your role could be minimum or it could be heavily involved. But at least you'll be helping the community. And it could be somebody that you know. Who knows? Well, go out and have yourself a wonderful day and make fantastic memories for tomorrow.